it didn't have a shape. Like it just moved so fast. Like I am like shaking, just like, oh my God. How my heart did not stop, I have no idea. Somebody just walked across my room. I didn't know what I can't see anything. I have never been so scared in my entire life. Hey guys, it's Bree, and I am finally sitting down to film my ghost story. I have a few ghost encounters, ghost stories, whatever you want to call it, but I'm only going to be telling one today. And that's because it is by far the most traumatic experience I have had. And so I figured just tell you guys kind of the best, scariest one right away. And then I can do another video on the rest of them. I apologize if this video is long, but telling this story actually scares the shit out of me all over again. And there's a lot to it. So yeah, it may be a longer video, but just bear with me. Hopefully it'll be worth it. This took place back when I was living in San Francisco. And when I first moved to San Francisco, I lived in some guy's garage, which probably sounds crazy to a lot of you. It's commonplace for people to have in-laws, which are basically, they've converted their garage into an apartment. I use that loosely. I just always kind of felt creepy in that place. But I don't know if it was like anything paranormal or if it was the fact that like the guy that lived upstairs in the house was a fucking perv and creepy on his own. So I was really desperately looking for another place to live. And this is all while I was working at the emergency animal hospital, and I worked the graveyard shift. So I worked from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Long story short, through Craigslist, I got in contact with this girl who lived in this house, and they were renting out, the room. So there were 4 of them that lived there. One of them was moving out. They were looking for a new roommate. So it sounded amazing. It sounded perfect. So I set up we set up like an appointment, and they accepted me as a roommate. And this house was very cool. It was just very San Francisco. I don't even know. It was just very funky. It was really old. Like you walk up the stairs and that shit would like creak, and like you never know what day was gonna just collapse on you. Okay, so this house, it had 2 bedrooms downstairs and then the kitchen, and then you go upstairs and it had an attic, but it was like an open attic that was converted into a living space. So 2 people stayed up there. When I moved in, the girl that was moving out had the biggest room on the floor, and so that was the one that was available, and so I took that room. And I was so freaking stoked. Like, seriously, it was a big room for San Francisco. Had a beautiful, like, bay window, hardwood floors. It was old, but it was really, really cool. For the first, like, week I was there, I was just really excited. Like, everything was going smoothly, and I'm just like, life is perfect. Every once in a while, I would get this really creepy feeling in the room, and I don't really know how to describe it other than I would get just like this creepy feeling. And I didn't think much of it. Again, I'm pretty big skeptic, and I don't go straight to ghost. The shit makes like a million noises because it's old, and like the wind blows and the house like moves a little bit. I shit you not, the house would move a little bit. Now, during this time, I had a friend who believes heavily in the paranormal, and she and her mom, I think the word they used was sensitives. They had a lot of paranormal experiences, and they would see ghosts and they would see spirits, and she had told me like a million stories of like this little girl that would like come into her bedroom and just like totally creepy shit. But I did believe her, I think as much as I could at the time. Like, I don't tend to believe those things unless they actually happen to me. I need it to happen to me in order for me to be like, this is legit. So she would come over every now and again and kind of hang out with me in the room. And then after about like 2 or 3 times, she kind of didn't want to come over anymore, and I didn't really understand why. And our friendship seemed okay, and she did live about 30 to 40 minutes away in Visalia, that kind of town north. And so I didn't think, too much of it. I was a little bit bummed that she didn't really want to come over anymore, but so I thought that was kind of odd. And every time I kind of asked her about it, it was really just the drive, and she had kids and yada, yada, yada. During this time, there's more like creepy shit kind of going on. And I was still really getting that creepy feeling like every once in a while, probably like once or twice a week. I would get this like really weird feeling. I would be totally fine. It'd be like in the middle of the day, doing whatever I was doing. And I would get this feeling that like 20 people just walked in the room and were staring at me. If you haven't experienced this, it's really hard to explain. If you have, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But say you're sitting in a room and 20 or 50 people just come in and stare at you. You would have this like awareness that they're there. You would feel a little bit maybe uncomfortable, and you would just feel like the room just got full of people. That's how I felt. I became acutely aware that a lot of something, whatever it was, came into my room. Now, I'm not seeing anybody, so I'm not believing it. I'm just kind of like, dude, like, chill, calm your shit. Like, nothing's in the room. Why am I feeling this way? And then it would just go away, and I would feel totally fine again. I also had hardwood floors, so I would constantly hear creaking in the room. And if you've ever had hardwood floors, especially in an older home, then you know the kind of creaking sounds that an old home makes. And you also know the sound that footsteps make. They are two very different sounds. So again, I don't know how to describe this other than it sounded like somebody was walking across the hardwood floor. It would go from one end, creak, 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 like somebody just walked across my room. And that happened a lot. At some point, I had asked my roommate, like, just kind of in passing, I would just be like, God, that room just kind of gives me like a weird vibe every once in a while. Like, has anybody, of you guys ever? No, not at all. That nobody's ever said anything. We've never heard anything, yada, yada, yada. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I also had a feeling of being safe just because I lived with 3 other people. So it was easy to kind of just push everything down and just, this is nothing. It was like 2 months after I moved in, something like that, I decided to get a dog. I need a dog in my life at all times. My roommates were actually cool with me getting a dog. So as soon as I got the okay, I went to a rescue, fell in love with a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful white deaf pit bull. And he was absolutely adorable. Like just the cutest dog ever. Instantly fell in love, and I named him Casey. And keep in mind, the noises and stuff, all that are still continuing. The creepy factor that I had was just getting worse. Like the creaking would be more frequent. I felt like people were coming into my room more frequently, and that feeling would stay a little bit longer. Just weird shit. So one day I had asked my friend, like, come hang out, like, just come hang out with me a little bit. You haven't been here in a while, da, da, da. So she came over, we went out to the bars, had a good time, and we got back. And now keep in mind, I haven't said anything to her because I just kind of wanted to like not talk about it really. So anyway, the end of the night, we go to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard what sounded like clanking, and it was just like something banging on metal. That's what it sounded like. And I didn't think much of it. I would just wake up to the sound, it would stop, and then I would fall back asleep. So the next morning we're just kind of like hanging out and talking, and I decide to kind of bring up the paranormal stuff. It was just kind of like, she's here and this activity has kind of been increasing, so I'm going to kind of mention it to her. And so I did. I kind of told her everything that was going on. I told her that I was hearing kind of what sounded like footsteps, and that I would get this feeling that like a bunch of people were in the room. And as I'm saying this, she's like, I totally know what you're saying by feeling a bunch of people in the room. She's like, I felt that yesterday. I'm like, what the fuck? What? What do you mean you felt that yesterday? And I remember when immediately when she said that, I kind of flashed back to the day before when we were kind of chit-chatting, and all of a sudden we were talking, and she just looked over like this, like she saw something. And I was like, what the hell? And she's like, nothing. I just thought I heard something. And so when she's telling me she got that feeling that a bunch of people were in the room, I flashed back to that moment, and I know exactly what she was talking about. And she's like, that's what I saw. Like I actually saw a bunch of spirits walk into the room. And she's like, even me, it startled me, but I didn't want to say anything to you because I didn't want to scare the shit out of you. And she's like, something really crazy and weird happened last night. Some old man that looked like he was from like the 1900s came into your room with like a not a hammer, but like a mallet thing, and was clanking on the metal like he was trying to rebuild the railroad. I about did a fucking backflip when she said that, because I heard that clanking. And remember, I never told her that I heard anything last night. And I never got up, like when I heard it. I didn't wake up, move around, anything like that. So there's no way that she could have known that I heard that noise. And honestly, like I'm pretty sure my face turned white when she said that, because I knew exactly what she was talking about. I heard the metal clanking. And she's like, yeah, this dude was like bent over, like by the head of the bed, and fuck, dude, bent over and hammering and she's like, it sounded like he was working on the fucking railroad. At this moment, I'm dying. Like, what am I supposed to do? What's happening? Get me the fuck out of here. Like, tell me something. Bring all your spirit knowledge, because I'm about to lose my shit. So she said, at the end of the day, I know it's kind of unnerving, to say the least, but they're not evil. They're not going to do anything to hurt you or attack you. She said that she was going to talk to her mom about what was going on and see what her mom thought about it. So I was like, cool. Like, at this point, I'm actually starting to believe that there's some shit going on in my room. There's just too many things that kind of match up to ignore. So any advice, whatever, like I'll take anything, because now I'm starting to get a little bit freaked out. She talks to her mom. It's like a week later, something like that. And she calls me and she's like, my mom kind of said the same thing. Like, if they don't feel threatening, if they don't feel aggressive, then really they're just kind of doing their own thing. And if you really, really want them to leave, you can ask them to leave. But the most important thing is, like, some of them can be kind of like pranksters and like want to fuck with you and stuff. Like, not to be evil, but just to kind of play, I guess. She said if there's ever those, that you don't want them to know that you're afraid. So yeah, what I took from that was, don't let the ghosts smell my fear. And if I am adamant about them leaving and I ask them to leave, they should leave. All right, fine. This may sound crazy, but saying please leave sort of makes it real that they're there and that they exist and that I'm validating their existence. And I wasn't prepared to do that at this point. I wanted to kind of continue to believe that it could be something else, that it's not 100% without a doubt ghosts. So after her visit, all that stuff, I felt like things started to quiet down a little bit. And this was about like a week and a half, 2 weeks. It wasn't very long, but it was long enough that I was like, okay, cool. Like, maybe they knew that she knew, and so they left or whatever. Fuck, I didn't know. I was just like, shit's not happening. So I'm cool. After it being like really, really quiet and nothing happening, it's like everything came back times 10. Like, with a vengeance. Like, I would get that feeling that people came into my room more often. Like, that just happened like more frequently, and I felt like they would stay longer, and I felt like there was more of them, and the footsteps, like the creaking and all that, it was just like back and forth several times throughout the day, throughout the night. I was getting very, very, very uncomfortable. I decided that I was going to say, please leave. So I, in my room one day, like during the day, of course, was like, I don't know if anybody's listening. I don't know if you guys exist. I'm starting to get scared, and I would love it if you guys would leave. So please, I'm asking you to leave. Thank you. I don't mean any harm. Like, I did that whole like fucking shit. And then that was it. I didn't want to, pray. I just wanted to ask, let it be done, that kind of thing. And after that, I actually got a little bit more freaked out because like I said, I sort of admitted that shit was going on and that I was scared. Just them knowing that I know that they're there, I thought that it would make things worse. And it did. So after I did all that, again, it got quiet. So we are now about 3 or 4 days after I politely asked them to leave. Here we are a couple days later. So this was on my day off. So I was at home, and kind of my routine every night was the same. I would crawl into my bed. Casey would jump up on my pillow and sleep right here by me. I pull the covers up, and I still do this to this day. I pull the covers up and I tuck them under my arms and lay my arms over like my comforter, and then put my, I had a laptop that I put on my lap, and I would fall asleep to movies. And I have to have my feet out. Like, I can't have covers over my feet or it makes me like freak out. So I have my little toes out. This is how I sleep every night. So on this particular night, it wasn't any different. I crawled into bed, put Casey up here. I pull my covers up, tuck them under my arms, got my little movie going. All is right in the world. Until I was seeing things move like past my room, like really quickly. And it was just black. It wasn't like a person. It didn't have a shape. Like, it just moved so fast. I would be watching my movie, and then I would just see something black just like go by, and I would look up. Of course, nothing there. And then how my heart did not stop, I have no idea. Like, I'm getting like emotional just like thinking about it, because that's how fucking scared I was. So I'm laying there, blankets tucked up under my arms, laptop on my lap, dog up here by my head. All of a sudden, I shit you not, something grabs the covers, like my comforter, and pulls it off of my fucking body. Like, I have never been so scared in my entire life than I was in that moment. And my blankets were pulled all the way down to my waist. And it was with force. Like, I am like shaking, just like, oh my God. I completely unloaded, okay? Turned on my light, jumped up into like the fucking fetal position, and just sat there and cried hysterically. I'm talking like wailing, somebody get my mommy. And immediately, like without skipping a beat, Jesus, please. I know I don't ever talk to you, but I need you right now, and I need your protection. I mean, I went full on religious. Anything. I would have done anything to make this stop. I didn't know I can't see anything. You know what I mean? I've got my light on, but I can't see anything. It's not like there's a person. There's nothing scarier than not being able to see some shit that's attacking you, okay? And I didn't know if something was going to happen next. I had no idea. And even though I had hung out with my roommates, I wasn't like close to them at this point, and we all had different shifts and stuff. So running over into someone's room, that's just not how I am, and I didn't feel comfortable. And when something like this happens to you, you're not having the most rational thoughts, because you've just been completely mind fucked. And so everything that you would normally do or would normally make sense, it's just like, it's scrambled eggs. So I sat there for a little bit crying, everything like that. And of course my dog, he's not like barking at anything. He's not being extra creepy. He's just laying here like, I woke up and I'm freaking out. He's just staring at me. So after that happened, everything just got really quiet. About 30 seconds later, I can see my roommate's room. So when my door was closed and his door was closed, you can see the lights under the door. that's how our room was kind of arranged. So you could see into the other room. Like I said, about 30 seconds later, I see a light come on under the door, but his door never opened. And his light stayed on for about 10 minutes. And so for this amount of time, I've been able to like calm myself down. Nothing else has happened. It's just really weird. Even after something so traumatizing, it's like I knew it was done. I just got this feeling that I knew it was gone. Now, gone for good, I didn't know. Like at the moment, it was gone. So 10 minutes later, his light goes back off. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be able to talk to anybody about this. So I wasn't going to go back to sleep. I didn't turn off my light. I kept that shit on all night long. So I turned pulled my covers back up, turned my laptop on, and just watched TV until morning. The next morning, I hear my roommate come out of his room, and I'm like, okay, like I'm up. This shit's over. Nothing else happened. Cool. I go out into the kitchen, and I have to say something because there's no way I can spend one more night in this room. Like, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There's no way. So I asked him, are you sure that nothing has ever happened in that room or no ghost experiences, anything like that? He's just got this really weird look on his face, and he's like, I haven't heard anything, but it's funny that you say that because something really weird happened to me last night. So he tells me, I saw your light on. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I saw your light on too. He goes, I wanted to go into your room. I was waiting for you to open your door. And I'm like, dude, I totally wish you would have, because I spent the whole morning shitting my pants. But he said that when he was laying in the bed, he was fast asleep, but he woke up to what felt like a cat walking across his face. He's like, it's not like I felt like the paws going across my face, but it was like it just felt like a cat, he said, was like dragged across his face, something fuzzy and fluffy. And we had, one of the roommates that lived upstairs had a cat. That cat never left that room. Like, that cat was in that room. After that happened, he jumped up, turned on his light. No cat. No cat, nothing. And so after about 10 minutes just like hanging out in his room, he turned off his light and went back to sleep. And so after he told me that, I was like, oh shit, dude. I told him what happened to me, and we were both like in agreement that what probably happened, I know this sounds crazy, but when I asked it to leave, it went over to his room and did some fucking weird cat fluffy shit on his face. So anyway, that day I went to the roommates that lived upstairs, begged one of them to switch rooms with me. And even though this chick was as annoying as all hell and I didn't really like her, I loved her in this moment because she agreed to switch rooms with me. So that day I took all my shit, moved it upstairs. She moved into that room and she lived in there, and she said she never had an experience or anything like that. So anyway, so I was living upstairs with my new roommate, never had another experience again in that house, nothing like that. But what's funny was when I told her my story, she said the girl that lived in there before and moved out, when I moved in, had experienced some weird shit in there. And I'm like, you didn't tell me? Like, I fucking asked you guys. Like, how could you not tell me that when I moved in? She's like, then you wouldn't have moved in. Like, we would have never been able to rent out that room. How I didn't, I don't know. But telling you guys, scary shit. I definitely believe that ghosts exist, and I don't believe that they're all friendly. And yeah. If you've had any ghost experiences, leave them down in the comment section. I love that shit. I want to hear it. Let me know. Share your stories. And yeah, we can talk more about it. I hope that you liked this video. I hope it was everything you had hoped for. And yeah, give it a thumbs up if you liked it. So I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.